Hi there and welcome to my 10th tutorial on HTML and web structure, and in this tutorial I'm going to talk about variables in JavaScript. So I'm going to show you how to create those variables and how to use them, and I will just talk about the variables overly. So variables in overall programming are one of the basic features, and I think all should have variables implemented at least. C++, Java, C#, whatever the name of the software is which you can program on, is basically, it has implemented, it has some library which is a variable basically. So you can use those variables in different languages. It's not just like an exception in some languages. So it's pretty common, this thing, and it's pretty basic. So if you encountered a previous programming language besides JavaScript, then you probably know variables and how to use them. And in JavaScript it's a bit different though, as we don't have a type in JavaScript, so it's a bit different, but the use is pretty much the same. When you have a string, you have a string simply. When you have a number, you can add number to number, and you have calculation. So the same thing applies when you use it, but the declaration is different, and we don't have a type simply, so it's a bit different looking, and the functionality is a bit different. So I'm gonna explain this in a minute. So what I mean by this functionality is different. So let's take, for example, a string in C++, let's say, or Java. When you say a string, you say string, name of the string, for example. You have to write the keyword string, actually, the name of the variable, and then value optionally. But in JavaScript, you don't do something like this. You just say var, which is the keyword, you have to use it, and then name, and whatever value you like. It can be a string, it can be a numeric value, and so basically JavaScript doesn't care which type of value you enter. It will still validate it in some kind of way, I think. And so what you input, it doesn't matter for Java, and it will be alright. So also what you can do is you can simply write one variable, and you can use it for many different things. So for example, you can use it for numbers, but then in some statement you have string which you want to save. You can use the same variable which was used for the numeric stuff. So you can interchange the values, which are strings and numbers, for example, and it will not affect how the program works. Of course, that's depending on how you use the variable itself, but the variable itself will not be a problem with this. We'll have no problems with this. So how you create this variable? As I said, you have to use the var as a keyword. This is a keyword, you use it all the time with variables. Then you have a name, like a name. You can name it anyway, however you like it. You can name it I like green, whatever. So it's not just you have specific name. I don't think you can use tags, you shouldn't, to name your variables, but you should know that already. So I can, for example, add the string here, for example red, like so, and I close it with semicolon. So that's my variable. I can optionally just delete this. This is optional actually. So if I delete this, the variable will still be created, and the variable will be called name, but it will not have value. When I do something like this, it just has value from the beginning. It has string red as a value. Now if you want numeric, so for example number, I'm just making it easier for you, and 0, for example, like this. So it's pretty much simple. How to create this variable is pretty much simple, and the usage it's also pretty much simple. So what you can do, if you can, for example, let's say you want to add some numbers to this variable. So let's say you want to say number, which is a variable name. You don't have to write var number, because this is the declaration statement. When you already declared it, you just say number, and then for example equals number plus 10. What this will do, this will this will add 10 to the number. And I don't know if this plus equals works here. I don't know actually, and you can find it out on your own. But what this does is simply add 10 to the number. It will add 10 number plus 10, and store that in number. That's how it works. simply. You can also print it out. I showed you how to print out document.write, and this time without quotation marks, you simply write the name of the variable, like number, quotations, and close it. You can save this and go to your page 5, 10. It will display simply the variable, the value of the variable, not the name or something else. It's just the value it contains. It's a data storage basically. That's why we use variables. And variables simply store the data for us. So there's nothing more to it actually than this. You simply use them to store your data. And why would you store the data? Well, in programming, the web programming, some kind of, you always have to store the data from the user. Whether it is a cookies, for example, you store some information from the user, or it's just simply his password or something like this. You have to store the data in some kind of variables or arrays and stuff like this. So this is crucial and very basic stuff. So for example, if you have a password and stuff like this, you can compare those variables against those passwords, whatever the user inputs it as his password. If he's mistaken, then you will not allow him to your page or to his account, something like this. So variables are pretty crucial. Now, strings are also a bit special in programming as well as in JavaScript. And strings can have methods. And this is no exception in JavaScript. We can have methods with strings. So if we have a string variable like name, for example, and we have this value in here, for example, red, I can say something like this. For example, name equals name dot and some kind of method, for example, to uppercase. This will produce, I don't know if you have to use I don't remember if you have to use here with those, because this is a method, so you have to probably use the brackets, but I will see in a minute. Right, and name. So basically this will create a string which is capitalized. All the letters will be capital letters, and I will try to print it out. I don't know if this will work actually. Yes, you have to add this bracket because it's a function. This is a function. Those methods, or functions in other words, sorry, are simply there to, I don't know, allow you to use some of the stuff that would be pretty annoying if you couldn't do it with just this method. This one is just one of these methods. I have a list of them. There's loads of them. I will not show you, most of them, or even half of them, or I don't know, 1/10 of them, because there's lots of them. But I can show you a couple. There's lowercase, so the same thing. It will make the letters to the lowercase, and so simply those two you can use to compare the strings. So for example, if you require your variable to be capitalized, every letter to be capitalized, you can use this one when user inputs something. When user inputs something, it doesn't necessarily have to be capitalized. He may forget, or he may something like this. So instead, what you're doing, instead of asking him to do the capitalized letters all the time, you may just say, well, just change it to the uppercase and check if they are the same characters, not the same case as with the letters, is lowercase or uppercase. There's a substring you can do. A substring is simply something that creates a new string from the string you already have. So what it does is it cuts the string. Simply, you use indexes. Index is, I will tell you later actually, but you use a index from 0, for example, to whatever is the finishing index, whatever the number it is. That's the number of characters in your string. So for example, this one is 0 to 2. and you can simply cut this word from, for example, index 0 to 1, and it will return a string, which is from well, string from the characters from the index 0 to 1. Let's have a longer string. I would just add something else, and I will not do it. I will not number and name, and name equals name again dot. This is very crucial. You have to hit the dot actually, and then you specify the method, which is substring. So substring method, and then you specify the index 2, for example. So from the second it will cut, and I think you can also specify the range. This is just simply the starting index from where to cut the word up to the end of the string. Well, let's see. 5. Didn't cut it. Not this one. I don't know if it's cut it. A lowercase substring. Is it sub? Maybe substring like this. I don't remember how you write it actually. Nope. Maybe the string is rubbish. I don't know if it's actually. It probably produces it, but okay. You know what I will do is I will show you another thing actually. Because as you could see, I didn't break the statements. So what you can do is add the br here, and it will simply break like so. Oh, string substring F5. Come on, what's happening here? Save. Yeah. Okay, so what it does now, I broke it here. Yeah, I printed out number, I printed out the name, but plus br, which is break segment, next line, simply. And my next line is just a part of the string. So it cutted it here. This one is not existing in here. As you can see, it's just DA, which is the end of the string. So it's from second index till the end of the string. But you can also specify the range. So if I specify the range, I have to add the new value. So for example, 1, 2, 3. And this will produce a new string, which is basically from something like this probably. Save. ed 1 to 3. Yeah, you have to play around with this. ed. So basically, we'll create this one. Sorry. So that's how the substring works. You have also the length on the string. So the length returns the number, not the character or something like this. It returns the number of how many characters you have in the string. Like so. You just simply put it like this, length, and you have in this variable, or in the numeric variable you can use, because it's much simpler. It will be easier to read. So it will return how many characters are there. So there are 4 characters, so it will return number 4. You have also character at and index of. So pretty much those are the useful ones. And as I said, index is simply something that we use in arrays or in numbering the sequence. Or let's say like this. So indexes start from 0. So the first value in our string is the 0 index simply. Then you count index 1, index 2, index 3, and so on. So that's how the indexes works. It simply indexes the place in the string or in an array. It's just simply the place, the order, let's say. And that's pretty much about the variables actually. And the tutorial got quite long, and yeah, a couple of mistakes, but I think overall it was alright. So I will finish it today here, and my next tutorial will be about some expanded concepts in JavaScript. Probably, I don't know, maybe next one will be about if statements and stuff like this. So we will see when I create it. You will have a chance to look at it. So visit my webpage and YouTube channel. If you like my videos, subscribe on the channel or on the videos, and visit my blog soon. I always update it every month or a couple of times in a month. So also news and stuff like this can be found there. I will see you in my next tutorial, and bye.